Hello, hello. I'm Casey,
And I'm Fallon.
and this is
Render the Darkness.
We are coming at you today with our second episode out of Alaska. It's going to be done by Fallon, but before she does that, let me throw you your fun fact for this episode. That is that ants don't have lungs. They instead breathe through something called spiracles,
Interesting.
which are like 9 or 10 tiny openings, depending on the species.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Spiracles?
I hope you didn't know that, or it wouldn't have been a fun fact for you.
Well,
It would have just been already retained information.
spiracle.
It's a fun word.
Yes.
And start using that, but not in the accurate terminology or context.
I don't know if you've noticed or not, but we have a new friend.
That's George.
George.
Fallon swears his legs move.
I synced it.
I haven't seen it happen yet, but she swears it does.
I synced it once. It could have been a quinkydink, but I synced it.
I think it was in her mind. As we already learned in previous episodes, she's scared of dolls.
Not all dolls, just really creepy
Dolls.
porcelain, old-timey, creepy dolls.
That is a porcelain old-timey clown.
There you go.
George is very old.
See, I like to put something here on my side.
Golly, why is your set so boring?
I don't know. Next time, I'm going to have something of my own up there. I don't know what yet.
I tell you what, you go have a green screen, and we're going to be going wherever we want to go and having whatever background we want to have. My side will still be the more fun one.
Rude.
They were standing in front of a waterfall. You best believe that waterfall is going to be coming down from behind me.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then I could do the whole episode like as if I'm underwater.
Please don't do that. Please do not do that.
Oh, the fun we will have with the green screen.
Oh, strange,
Sorry.
strange person. All right, so in this episode, we're going to go back in time to the 1800s. Now, there's a really good book that I read for some of the information in this case. It's called Forgotten Murders from Alaska's Capital by Betsy Loganbow. Now, in 1893, at the age of 14, William Woodworth would leave his home in Iowa to find his place in the world. They left his older sister and her husband behind to look for fortune and fame. Now, it took around 20 years before his name would appear in the newspapers, as vaudeville performers would be singing in blackface in a traveling show in Juneau. Now, I wasn't sure what the vaudeville performers were, so I had to look it up, and they are people that act, sing, dance. Some are magicians, and some are even jugglers.
Oh, that's cool. So kind of like circus people.
Yeah, kind of like a small little...
Yeah.
Now, after his name first appeared in the newspapers in 1912, William started acting in southeast Alaska in the summers and would stay in hotels in the Pioneer Square district and do performances there. But there wasn't any kind of newspaper articles that talked about any of the shows by him in Seattle or in Washington State. Now, we'd have events that were only in person by local people and from people that were out of town with the talent that he was looking for. Now, in March 1913, a lawmaking representative said that the night consisted of another representative singing a song, a woman from town playing the piano, and songs by William Woodworth himself.
Okay.
Now, when the ships were going to and from Alaska on the manifest, William will say that he was an actor, musician, and he made films. In 1918, he had on his draft card that he was a cameraman for the Premier Alaska Film Company. Now, the draft card also showed his birth year as 1979, meaning he was 33 when he went to Alaska. Now, during his time there, he was on a lot of manifests, but each time his age would be different, but it was never higher than 39 years old. At 5 p.m. on August 25th, 1920, the cook on the Lumi Bay noticed a boat that looked to be on fire in the Chatham Strait that was on the southern tip of, I'm going to end up messing this up because I tried so many times to say this, Admiralty Island. Sorry, I tried.
She really did. She practiced that word like 20 times.
Yeah.
With Google. What is it? What do you use? The Google pronunciation thing or whatever? Yeah. Admiralty. 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 I heard that like 20 times.
I wanted to make sure I didn't mess it up. And I'm sure I'll mess up other things, but... Oh, sorry. Now, the captain on the Lumi Bay named Harrington set out after the boat, and it took him about 25 minutes to get there. Once there, he noticed that the boat was on fire. He also noticed that the skiff was missing, and he didn't see anyone moving around on the deck. Harrison and his crew thought that the people who were on board must have fled in the skiff. Now, if you don't know, a skiff is a smaller, shallow boat that has a flat bottom, according to dictionary.com.
I did not know.
I didn't either.
So thank you, dictionary.com.
Yes. Now, Harrington looked out across the water to see if he could spot the boat with a passenger or passengers, and he seen it being rowed by one person. So he took off in the direction of the skiff, but it took him almost 17 minutes to reach it because the person inside the small boat didn't stop or slow down, even though he could see the Lumi Bay coming closer to him. Now, once he brought the man aboard his boat, he asked him his name, and he said that his name was E.C. Lilly. Now, the man did admit that he left the Sea Breeze, but his story only rose suspicion, and Harrington thought that the man was drunk.
Uh-oh.
Now, let's talk a little bit about who E.C. Lilly was before we continue on the conversation that he had with Harrington. Now,
It's not set up for a good situation here already.
No, it's not. Now, when E.C. was younger, he was going by his middle name, Constant. When he was 17, he worked at a dairy with Alex Gonzalez. Now, one day during their shift, they got into an argument, and E.C. was fired. The next day, E.C. went back to the dairy, found Alex, and shot him one time. And when Alex fell to the ground, E.C. walked over to Alex and shot him again.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, some sources say that because of how young he was when he committed the crime, he was only charged with manslaughter and not murder. Even though he did pre-plan the shooting, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
That's all he got?
Yeah. Well, because he was underage and...
Oh.
That's what they were thinking anyway. Yeah. Now, E.C. would say that he shot Alex in self-defense because he had threatened to hurt him with a milking stool. E.C. was sent to Folsom Prison in California, where he would only serve 6 years of his 10-year sentence. In 1914, only 2 years after being released from jail, he would be arrested again for theft and sentenced to 1 year, but would be let out after only 10 months. Now, he would end up moving to Alaska, where he would meet William Woodworth and start working with him as part of a 3-man vaudeville group that Woodworth led. Now, some sources say that William started going to the small towns that were in southeast Alaska around 1919. He would take his boat to the Sea Breeze to these places and would provide many entertainment-type services. The boat was a 35-foot gas-powered fishing boat that was actually owned by a Ketchikan businessman. Some sources also say that the Sea Breeze may have provided alcoholic beverages and services from ladies of the night, which at the time were both very much illegal.
Mm. Yeah, but also very much common.
Yes, yeah, it was very
frame.
common. Now, William would try different methods of making money before he decided that a floating vaudeville act would be what he wanted to do. In 1918, he presented a reenactment of the soldiers' battle in World War I with a Canadian veteran, and the night would end with the two just singing and dancing and having a great night. Now, some people would say that William was a great performer, and some say that he really liked attention. Now, in 1915, he would tell a Seattle reporter that he went through a crazy, long, and hard journey bringing a boat to Alaska, and that a man had actually drowned during the trip. Now, it didn't take long for people to find out that the man that drowned during the trip was very much alive and well. And when he was asked why he told such a lie, he said that he didn't lie, that he was just making a joke.
Well, that's one hell of a joke.
Yeah, not very funny.
That's not a funny joke at all.
Now, William was known to always have things in order, and he brought 2 other men aboard the boat with him, E.C. Lilly and E.S. Jack. Now, Ketchikan, E.S., and E.C. were sharing a dwelling.
Why are all these people going by their initials?
I don't know.
Is that just like a thing for the time?
It may have been.
I like his middle name, Constant.
Yeah, I did too.
That's a really... I mean, I know he probably ends up being the bad guy here. I don't know that he's the bad guy, but he sounds like he's going to be the bad guy, but he did have a cool middle name.
Yeah, he did. I don't know, I kind of like the E.S. and the E.C. and I don't know why William didn't go as...
Well, because back then he couldn't.
W.W.
It was either William or Bill.
That's true.
William already had an abbreviation.
That's true. Now, E.C.'s role was playing the guitar, but there wasn't any information on what exactly E.S. did in the group. Now, some people said that there was some said that there was trouble brewing on the boat between William and E.C. I said brewing. I'm sorry. Now, they said that both of the men were often drunk and would get into a lot of arguments. Now, there were people who also said that E.C. would often make threats towards William, saying that he had been to jail before and he wasn't afraid to go again. Now, these threats happened so often that William would take E.C.'s gun from him on multiple occasions. E.C. was said to have claimed that he didn't get paid for a week's worth of work, and William said that it was because that he wasn't sober enough to do any actual work. Now, the watchman at the Washington Bay would say that he watched all 3 men board the boat on August 25th, 1920, and left to go to the Thai cannery.
Okay.
Now let's get back to what happened after E.C. boarded Harrington's boat. Now, after being asked who he was, E.C. told Harrington that originally there were 3 of them on the boat. He said that E.S. got off the boat sometime earlier that day. He said that when he left the boat, William was still on it. He also said that William was below deck doing some maintenance on the engine when the fire started. He told him that he yelled for William, but when he didn't get any answer, he grabbed a few items and took off in the skiff. Now, not being able to believe that someone would just leave another person on a burning boat to either burn to death or drown, Harrington asked E.C. what he had done to try and get William off the boat. Now, E.C. told Harrington that he didn't really do anything to try to help William because he said that the fire was so bad that he had been singed on the face. But Harrington didn't see any signs of burns on him or his clothing. Now, Harrington asked him why he didn't try to use the hatch at the front of the boat if he couldn't get through the main part of the cabin.
Yeah.
But E.C. would never answer that question.
It's because he didn't have an answer for that question.
Nope. E.C. would also tell Harrington that the engine fire had made the gas tanks explode. So Harrington made his way back to the sea breeze just in time to see the boat break in half and sink into the water. But he noticed something a little strange. He seen 3 gas tanks just floating on top of the water, and 2 of those tanks still had gas in them.
Well, didn't he just tell him that they exploded?
Yes, he did. Now, Harrington was starting to get more and more suspicious of E.C.'s story, and that only got worse when he noticed the items that he had taken off the boat. Now, remember, he was in such a hurry to get off that burning boat, he couldn't help William.
Yeah.
But he had time to grab his guitar, some food and water, a suitcase, a gun, a bucket,
Holy crap.
a brush and comb.
So basically everything off the boat except for William?
Yeah. And he even found time to grab a framed portrait of himself off that boat.
Well, because that's a priority for sure.
Right? That's what I was thinking. Now, Harrington took E.C. to Big Port Walter, and he sent a telegram to Juneau about the way that E.C. was acting and told him that the story he told him was highly suspicious. And he set off back to Ketchikan, leaving E.C. behind. Now, E.C. would be there for 3 days while he waited for the next boat that could take him off the island. But before he was able to leave, a federal marshal was able to take him into custody. Harrington had contacted the police rather quickly about E.C. and let them know that something didn't add up with the story, and they sent out Marshal N.O. Hardy to ask E.C. some questions and to look further into the cause of the fire. E.C. was put on the Navy ship Subchaser 210 that was taking him to Juneau, and the entire way there he just acted normal playing his guitar. And when the ship made port, they took him to jail, and he was questioned again. This time he would say that ES asked to be let off at Alexander Port. He also told police that he was in too much of a hurry to try and help William off the boat. 5 days after the Sea Breeze caught fire, the police told a Juneau reporter that they were thinking about charging EC with theft, but found out the next day that he was being charged with William's murder. Now they do think that ES was on the boat when it was burning, but they didn't find his body, and they searched the towns that were close by, but they couldn't find him. And unfortunately, ES Jack was never seen again. They were only able to charge EC with William's murder because he stated that he knew he was still on the boat when he left. So he basically just abandoned him and knew it and admitted it. So that's why they were able to charge him with that one. Now, after the charge was made, the next steps went by rather quickly. Now, the Sea Breeze burned on August 25th. EC was charged on September 1st, and his trial started on October 4th. Harrington was the main witness at the trial because of his good standing. He's seen the Sea Breeze sink, and he was the one who picked EC up. He would give his testimony saying that EC told him 3 different things that William was doing when the fire broke out. He said he was fixing the engine, then said, no, wait, he was eating. Then said, no, I was wrong. He was down below doing something, but didn't know what it was. Now, a couple witnesses would also testify about EC's threats he made towards William, and another would talk about the gun that he had that was actually ES's. The Deputy U.S. Marshal Hardy would talk about EC telling him that ES left their boat and got onto another fishing boat that was passing by. And the Marshal said that when he tried to find ES, no one had seen or heard from him or William since the fire. Now, the trial started on Monday, and the defense rested on that Wednesday of the same week, without anyone calling a single witness, and EC never got on the stand to testify. EC's attorney at the end would ask that the charges be dropped because there was no evidence that he had done anything wrong, and the judge said that the decision would be made the next day. That Thursday, the judge denied the defense's request to drop the charges, so he asked the judge to convince the jury that he wasn't guilty of the charges, which the judge denied as well. The prosecution... sorry, I don't know what happened there. The prosecution...
Welcome back.
Thank you. Presented its closing argument that took 6 hours, and then the defense only took an hour for their closing argument. And during that, he asked the jury to dismiss the case because there wasn't enough evidence against his client. Now, it took the jury less than 2 hours to come back with a guilty verdict of first-degree murder, and they requested a death sentence. EC was cuffed, and when he was being walked back to his cell, he had what was said as, quote, a grimacing grin. And he was first taken to the McNeil Island in Washington, but was transferred later to Leavenworth Penitentiary in Kansas.
Okay.
Now, in 1944, 55-year-old EC was told that he could leave the shoe house where he was working to see a disciplinary court because he was in trouble for going to the B-cell house without permission. But instead of doing that, he attacked Senior Officer Lewis M. Kelly with a wooden shoe hammer. Another guard named Clarence A., hopefully I say this correctly, Bergman, ran over to Kelly and EC struck him with the hammer too. Then he took off while Clarence chased after him. Now, the other inmate said that EC was shouting, saying, quote, I have done 24 years and now they're going to get me. I think I killed Kelly. EC then proceeded to jump from the 4th tier B cell house, falling 35 feet to his death.
Oh.
So that is the story of the murder of William Woodworth. I know that wasn't very long, but I found it pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting for sure. It's fascinating to me that back then, like, they really didn't need to have a definitive amount of evidence. Like, there was a, guilty without a shadow of a doubt or whatever. Back then it was like you could get the death sentence just based on somebody's word.
Yeah, that happened a lot.
I mean, look at like all the witch trials and stuff. Literally being based off just one person saying something and somebody else agreeing with that person. Like, if you could get more than 2 to 3 people to side with you, you were pretty much going to win whatever case you wanted.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm not saying that he didn't, because given his history, he probably did kill William.
Yeah,
but they didn't have any proof that he did. All they knew was that the boat caught on fire and he bounced without him.
Yeah, I guess it was because he didn't try to really help.
I mean,
they considered that murder, but
yeah, but nobody really knew the situation, so nobody knew, like, if William try to help himself? Did he try to jump off the boat? You know what I mean? Like,
and it's weird that ES just vanished.
Yeah.
So, and I'm kind of with you on the witch trial thing too, because I mean, like, all you have to do is just be like, "Oh, you didn't like my pudding, witch."
Yeah.
That's all it took.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
Oh, crazy times.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's sad for William either way. So, R.I.P. William.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you went out like that, regardless of how it happened.
I agree.
But yeah, thank you for doing that case.
Yeah, no problem.
Like I said at the beginning of the episode, that's our second case coming at you from Alaska. Our next case is going to be the ghosts of Alaska. Ooh. And then we'll be moving right along to Arizona.
Yeah.
So it's not too late to get your suggestions or your requests in. If you have any, we would love to hear them. Like I said, we're doing a 50-state series right now, but when we're done with that, we're going to roll right back into doing cases from all over the world. So if you have any from anywhere, regardless of what time period or what location, send them to us.
Yes, we would definitely love to read them and do some research on them and all that kind of stuff.
Cover the case for you, or if you have something that you want to tell, jump on, let us know, and we'll get you on here.
Yep.
So,
you can do it.
Other than that, thank you guys so much for spending your time with us today, and we hope you enjoyed our content. If you did, if you could do us a ginormous favor and just give us a subscribe and a like. On YouTube, we would really appreciate that. We can also be found on pretty much any of your music stations that you listen to, where you can listen to podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Apple. Any support we can get is greatly appreciated, and yeah, that's it. We are
Render the Darkness.
Bye. Say bye, George.
Bye, George.
Bye, George.